Batman, Batman, Batman. Joker just put me on acid. You wanna wait like a maverick. We need to make something happen. Batman, Batman.
What's up, you absolute noobs? In this tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at how you can get a normal camera shot, clip, whatever you want, to go from looking like this to like this. Now what this is this is kind of a movie effect. It's essentially utilizing basic LUTs and color corrections that are inside of Sony Vegas, and there's tons of tutorials around on color correcting, but I'm going to show you how to not just color correct to make it look better, but how to make it look higher quality, how to make the footage look like it was shot higher quality. And this footage was a film made by a guy, I think it was called Colby Moore. It was he just like walked around New York at night. It's called Never Sleep, and it was awesome. So I thought I would use it for that little edit. I'll link it below. I'll link the download so you can go check it out. And if you want to follow along with this footage, then you can. But of course, let's get into the tutorial. So I have took the clip order from the edit, as I done in my previous tutorial, which just makes it a little bit easier. And first thing I done was added some thicker black bars, which we may as well do. His black bars were fine, but I go up and down with adding black bars. Sometimes I want them absolutely thick, and sometimes I put them really, really small. And it's usually on music videos you tend to have them a bit thicker like this. But I'm gonna leave them off just while we actually add the LUT itself. So the first thing is we're just gonna come to the event effects. Now this is all Sony Vegas. None of this is third-party plugins. Nothing. I made sure I'd done it all Sony Vegas. Magic Bullet Looks is really, really good for color corrections. It's like one of the best things you can use, but for the sake of the tutorial and for the sake of people that are just starting out and don't really know where to go or what the best plugin is, just keep it all Sony Vegas. And you saw the result. It certainly wasn't bad. So first off, we're going to start off with some levels. Now I found these really handy to start off with first, rather than curves, which I usually jump into, because with these nighttime shots, I wanted to make sure I got the right brightness contrast gamma. So the levels really helped that, and I wanted a bit of a blue tint as well. So what I done was I turned up the input start, not by much, just a little bit, just to darken it out, get a bit more contrast, and I pulled down the end a bit. So you just getting that contrast, making sure the diffusion on the lights comes up a bit. And the start, I actually think I left that raw. The output end I did bring down a bit, just to kind of equalize that input end. And the gamma, I think I brought down just a bit as well. So you can see, if you're not looking for some intense color correction, just from that to that, you're getting rid of that kind of grey haze that comes with a raw camera shot. So even if you want to make your video look like it's 4K without doing an absolutely expansive color correction that consists of curves, film grain, and contrast and color balances, you can literally just do it with levels like that. One simple tip, just like that. Now of course, for the sake of the tutorial, I will go through and add all these different effects, but one tip right there, proof. One simple effect can change your entire video quality, and so many creators don't use this and take advantage of this. They keep it so raw, and it's so effortless, and if they really care about their content, this is the way to do it, you know? I mean, look at that. It's just, the difference is insane. So next we're gonna do the curves. Now I didn't mess about with the RGB too much, because that would just counteract what we done on the levels, but I did just do a little kind of soft up and down, just to bring out the highlights a little bit more. And then I changed it to blue on the channel, and I made sure I brought this up because I really wanted that blue tint. You can see that now we're getting cinematic. Okay, now we're getting to that kind of movie level. what I've done is I brought down the reds a little bit, I think. Not too much. Just the okay amount. What I do is I just turn it off and on to make sure I'm kind of staying in line. And the greens. In fact, I think I remember what I just done is I brought the reds up to give it that contrasting colour. So you can see those two effects. It's looking absolutely beautiful. Next, I added film grain. Now, I did have to be a bit careful with this on some shots because it was shot at night, and sometimes, I mean, he's lucky he was in New York because it's just lights everywhere, but you'll often find ISO is quite hard to get around in night shots no matter what. So I made it ever so subtle, about 0.5, turned up the chromaticity and the grain a little bit as well, or the grain size, and that's pretty much it for game. It's hit or miss. You either might either love it or hate it. I don't use grain a lot. Some pieces of work I feel it suits, but like I said, if you want that crisper look for a 4K effect, film grain's the way to go. And next, next is the soft contrast. I believe they used. Here it is. Now, here was where some of the magic happened, because messing with the stretch range and the contrast and diffusion brought out the lights really, really well. So it just kind of knocked this up quite far, and then knock the contrast up. You don't want to do it too much. You don't want to darken your shot. But if you bring it, you can either have it really dark like that, which just looks a bit weird. I mean, it looks cool actually, but it looks like something's wrong with the train, like you're in an apocalypse or something. So say maybe actually bring it down a little bit, just so the shadows don't look a bit funny. And the diffusion, you can bring that up, and the low trim, the high trim. I usually like to have the high trim higher than the low trim, ironically enough. And the tint, I did just add on to our blue. That's all I've done here. Because you can still see some of these reds around here, so if we bring that up, that's just going to give it kind of that blue haze all around. So you can see now that we're actually getting blue all around rather than just in certain parts, like silver bits and bits that don't have much color going blue. It's kind of putting like a filter all over it. And of course that's all it is for this color correction. And I wouldn't say add much else, just mess around with what we've got. Your blues and your reds is what's going to give you that cinematic and more crisp kind of 4K looking shot. Your film grain and the levels and the brightness contrast, because one thing 4K does really well is separate the shadows from the light. That's kind of the eye peeler for me. That's how I can tell a 4K shot from a 1440p shot, is the shadows are just, like, the HDR on them is crazy. They're so dark. And one last thing I actually done here is, because this isn't to do with the color correction, but Sony Vegas likes to darken your shot when you render. And if you've been having this problem, well, I'm about to show you how to fix it. Alright, I went through this for a long time and managed to grab a fix, but if you come to Sony levels, don't edit with this on because it messes with the color correction, and I literally just made that mistake when I was making this. And just come to the preset and computer RGB, and you can just see that it brightens it up, so when you render it darkens it down again. But what we can actually do is copy them over here. And that shot with the old man was one I really noticed it on. I really liked that. Just gonna add those bars. I really, really liked it on that shot. Just thought it looked awesome in Grand Central Station. This shot, wow. Just watch this. You see that? This is crazy. Oh my god, it makes me so happy just looking at this. And, you know, that's the tutorial. That's all there is to it. You have now went from a shitty raw shot to an absolutely stunning 4K shot in just a couple minutes footage. And one thing I didn't mention at the start of the tutorial, because I didn't want you to leave, this will make your render times a little bit, you know, up there, but it's worth it. Only thing I'd suggest, don't go overboard with it. Keep it cool, okay? Keep it cool. Don't turn it into a Michael Bay film, okay? Anyway, that's all for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. Social medias, Instagram, Twitter, it's in the description if you want to take a look at my renders or some of my other work. Go over there, check out some of my previous tutorials. I literally just done a tutorial on a really smooth transition, all Sony Vegas as well, so make sure you go check that out, and I'll see you in the next one.